So, moving right along with the story, aside from my dad waiting on a gas station line to get fuel for a generator and being on that line all night till 5 in the morning, till almost the crack of dawn, till first light, we had our friends over 2 days later to get some positivity going, even though we were in a dark time like Sandy. We were in Saturday rolls around, and I once again had my friend Nick over for a little bit, and we were watching more movies in the living room, and we were like talking and hanging out again. Yeah, that was Saturday. Nothing really happened that Saturday. Just my friend Nick came over, and we still had no power. And we were also looking at the Toys R Us wish list book. Yeah, it actually got mailed to us that day, and we were looking in the Toys R Us Christmas wish list book to see if there's any cool stuff we want for Christmas. Yeah, that Toys R Us wish list book actually came to our house that day and got delivered. Like after Nick left, we were like searching through the book. And that night we were actually watching the movie Animaniacs Wacko's Wish because it actually showed on the Hub that night. The Hub Network, which is now Discovery Kids or Family. I forgot the name of that channel, but it used to be called Hub Network back in the day. I remember the Hub used to show all these great movies back then. But they changed the name back in 2014. Yeah, we actually saw the Hub a lot. We actually watched Hub Network a lot because they showed a bunch of great movies month after month. Yeah, this is what I missed about Hub Network is that they used to show all these great movies like every single month. And the Hub never disappointed us with all the movies they were showing. Like, they showed movies like Gremlins or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Sandlot, you name it. I really miss Hub Network. That's when the Hub was a great channel, and now it's not really much. So we watched Animaniacs Wacko's Wish that night, and Sunday rolls around, and we actually go to my friend Nick's house to take a shower because we were filthy. And I actually thanked Nick for that, for welcoming us to his house to take a shower. And we hung out for a little bit because they were the ones that still had power. They got their power back, but we still didn't. And then me and my family had another movie night. I forgot what we watched that night. And then Monday, November 5th, 2012, we decided to get out of the house for a little bit, and we went to the Sunrise Mall, and we shopped in the mall for a few hours just to get ourselves out of the house because we still had no power. And we had to go food shopping too. So we decided to get out of the house and keep ourselves occupied for a few hours. And we had to go shopping in Walmart for some food. Yeah, so that was enough to keep ourselves occupied and take our mind off of having no power or no heat and being huddled up in a blanket and walk around the mall. And then the next day, it was Tuesday, November 6th, 2012, and it was actually a nice day out that day. And all I can remember is that we left the house to go vote at the elementary school that was nearby. And then we went to 7-Eleven. Yeah, I actually took a walk with my nana to my former elementary school for her to vote, and it was actually election day that day. It was like an election going on because every 4 years is a new election. So I took a walk with my nana to get out of the house again so she could vote. And then we went to 7-Eleven to get donuts. And then I came back and I was actually watching the live action Popeye from 1980 with Robin Williams, who's been dead for like over 10 years. Yeah, it's been 10 years since I lost my grandfather, and he was actually in rehab during this hurricane. My grandfather was in the nursing home during this hurricane, but I'm glad he was doing okay, even though he was dealing with the stroke and everything. Yeah, that's my paternal grandfather right there. Yeah, this was like 2 years before he passed away when we had Hurricane Sandy. And then Wednesday comes, it was November 7, 2012, and I was back in school, believe it or not. I had no power that morning. I forgot to tell you that we were actually in the dark during daylight savings ending time. And because we had no power, we were unable to turn back the digital clocks. And we were only able to set back clocks that were not digital. So as I was saying, it was Wednesday, November 7, 2012. And I was actually back in school again. I still had no power in the living room that morning, but it was actually great to be back in school again. Shockingly, I didn't really like my sixth grade year, but I was actually glad to be going back to school and getting my life back on track after Sandy, even though I had a long way to go to get myself back on track after Sandy. But it was like only the beginning of trying to get my life back on track. When school returned and everything started going back to normal with school. And believe it or not, we actually had some snow showers that day, but believe it or not, we actually got my power back. My power came back on that afternoon. It was a pleasant surprise to come home to after I got off the bus. I was glad to see my power turn back on. And I was able to do stuff I was able to do before Sandy. I missed a lot of things, and I was glad to get it all back. But shockingly, we had another nor'easter come our way. That the winds were strong enough again that my mom decided to keep us home again. My mom decided to keep us home one more day on November 8th, 2012 because the winds were actually strong and we had to deal with another nor'easter. But thankfully we didn't lose power again. But my mom kept us home to keep us safe, even though we missed a lot of school in the last 2 weeks because it was closed due to Sandy. My mom kept us home to be safe from the winds because they were so strong that day. But then I went back to school on November 9th. Thank goodness. And I actually went to a safe Halloween event at the high school, which had to be postponed because of Sandy. Yeah, I went to the annual safe Halloween event that's held at the high school every year, at my former high school. And that had to be postponed to November because of Sandy. And there was no school because of Sandy. That school was closed for like over a week. And there were still people without power, so life wasn't completely normal, and people still had no homes and everything. A lot of people in Long Island had a long road to recovery, but I was trying my best to get back to normal as quickly as possible, but it took a while for me to get back to normal. Believe it or not, that was pretty much it. That was the end of my story with Sandy. Was that I was trying to get my life back on track afterwards, but it was really hard that time. Sandy was one of the worst things that has ever happened to me in history. It changed my life forever. So tell me, how does it feel to be huddled up in a blanket in the living room with temperatures falling like a rock? How did it feel doing homework in the dark with only a flashlight? And how did it feel waiting on those lines to get fuel for your generator all night long until first light? It was no fun for us. It was like a horrible time of our entire life. It was like one of the worst things that's ever happened to us, besides losing my grandparents and this monster virus happening. It was terrible. Tell me how it feels to go through all that stuff after a hurricane. Not fun, is it? So yeah, Sandy was one of the most darkest times of my entire life. I have never forgotten about this storm. I remember it like it was yesterday. The memory is still fresh in my head, and it will always be. I will never forget the nightmare I had to go through on this emotional roller coaster ride. This was definitely a wild ride for sure. Without question. Sandy was such a monster and a menace that a lot of people still don't have homes from Sandy, and they're probably never getting their homes back. Yeah, there's still people in the Northeast who don't have homes anymore. And some of these people are never getting their homes back, and they have to find new homes. And there was a lot of people, there was like hundreds of people that were dead from this storm. Yeah, this is the type of monster we had to go through in 2012. Yeah, I didn't really like 6th grade that much because of the nightmare we had to go through and the trauma. Yeah, places like Atlantic City and Coney Island and places like Long Beach and Long Island, those places were hit pretty hard. You name whatever near the water, that area was impacted. You name whatever is along the water. You name whatever is on the water along the water. That area got infected. That's how bad it was. Yeah, the ocean came in and destroyed all these homes and businesses. And a lot of people were out of power for like almost a month. I got mine back like after over a week, but a lot of people didn't get their power back for weeks. It was a scary time for everyone who lives in the Northeast like I do. Scary, scary times. So yeah, that was my experience with Sandy. It's been 12 years since this thing happened. And I will tell this story again next year on its 13th anniversary. I can't believe the type of storm this thing was. This was like one of the most unusual, monstrous storms we ever dealt with in our history. Yeah, a lot of people lost homes, a lot of businesses were destroyed because the ocean came in and flooded all these places and destroyed them. A lot of fires broke out, and a lot of places along the water, like Coney Island, JFK, Atlantic City, a lot of those places got destroyed. And the New York Aquarium was badly flooded. And badly slammed that it took years for it to get back to normal and make new exhibits. Yeah, a lot of places were destroyed from Sandy. A lot of people are still devastated from this time. Yeah, I will never forget the devastation we had to go through with Sandy. This was one of the most scariest times of our entire life. So I guess that's it. Bye.